Hi, this is Brian Russell, and I want to work with you over a reading of the Hebrew text of Amos 7:10 to 17. This is the prophet Amos's encounter with the priest Amaziah in the northern kingdom and their dispute over what the nature of prophecy is. This is a fascinating passage, but we're going to look at it in Hebrew. There will also be another video where I'm going to break down the actual verbs and how you parse them. But in this one, I'm just going to read through the text, point out a few things to help facilitate your engagement with the Hebrew text. If you have any questions, you can post them as questions on this YouTube video. For my students, go ahead and put them in the forum for the class itself. But let's go ahead and jump into the text. Again, this is Amos 7, verse 10. The line picks up down here with our first words. We have Yishlach Amaziah Kohen Bethel El Yerovam Melech Yisrael Lemor Kashar Aleka Amos Bekerev Beit Yisrael lo tukal haaretz le hakil et kol devarav ki ko amar Amos bekerev yamut Yerovam v Yisrael galo yigle me'al ad mato V'yomer Amaziah el Amos chutze lake berach leka el eretz Yehuda ve'ekol sham lechem v'sham tenave. And that gives you a little flavor for pronunciation. I'm not going to read the whole thing for this particular video, but do practice your pronunciation. Those were the first 2 or 3 verses there. Let's go back and pick this up. So our first word is a verb, vayishlach, and we'll talk again. I'll break the verbs down in a separate video, but do note that this is clearly a past narrative or vav consecutive, or imperfect plus vav consecutive. This is a third masculine singular. There's no markers of any particular binyan, so this is a call, and it means sent or stretched out. And here we have a proper name, Amaziah. Well, who's Amaziah? We have Cohen Bethel. Cohen is the word for priest. This is a noun. It's built off, if you know the paradigms, this is built off of a participle, a called participle, but this is technically a noun here, and it's in construct, essentially by context. There's no reduced vowels, but do note that we have the munach conjunctive accent linking it with Bethel. And so this would be Amaziah, the priest of Bethel. It's the priest because Bethel's a proper name. And here we have, and notice the word Bethel, if you've never noticed it before, this is house of God. So the priest of the house of God. So Amaziah, the priest of the house of God, stretched out or sent to Yeroboam, king of Israel. So we have a prepositional phrase. And then we, with the object of the preposition being Jeroboam, and then we have another construct chain, the king of Israel. This is an apposition to Jeroboam. It tells us something about Jeroboam. So Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, the king of Israel. And again, there's 2 Jeroboams in the Old Testament. This particular Jeroboam is Jeroboam the second. This is the king during the early to middle of the 8th century BC, which is when Amos is doing his prophetic work. And then we have Lamor. This, when you start seeing a verbal form, you probably recognize the root, but when you have a lamed on the front of what looks like a verb, that needs to be a quick indicator that this is probably an infinitive, which it is here, classical term, infinitive construct. There's no sign of any other stem other than call, so this is your call infinitive. Almost functions, you can translate it saying. So Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, the king of Israel, saying, Kashar, there's your classic call, third masculine singular perfect, against you, Amos. And Kashar means conspired, and so we have Amos has conspired against you. Notice the suffix there. Bekerev bet Yisrael, in the midst of, in construct, the house of Israel. In the midst of the house of Israel. Lo, to call. This is an unusual verb form. I'm not going to say a lot more about it. It's very irregular. You'll see it occasionally, but it means you will be able. And so this, in this case, this is a third feminine singular call imperfect. The root is yakal, and so this is a first yod verb that was originally a first vav. And so you get this unusual vowel here in the middle, but you'll get used to seeing this particular verb. The earth is not able, and this verb typically takes an infinitive, which there is an infinitive. Notice we have a lamed with a verbal form here. Again, this would be a hifil. The hirik yod signals that. And this is from a middle weak verb. So this is a hifil infinitive from kul, lamed vav kaf, and it means provide or to contain. So the land is not able to contain, definite direct object indicator, all his words. Okay, let's go to verse 11. So we have a particle. This can mean, you should know this one. This can be that, for, because. Probably here it's substantiating because what's going on here? Why is the land unable to hold or contain Amos's words? Well, because thus. Now this is interesting. This is going to be a play on words. We'll see it later. It doesn't say thus Yahweh said. It's thus Amos has said. Here we have the classic call, perfect form of Amar. And what did Amos say? By the sword. Notice here, if you go back, we have a kerev, which is sword, first guttural. So this is the definite article here. But there's no doubling, and the the hey sound elides when you put the preposition bait on there. The only indication of the article is the patak. So by the sword, Jeroboam will die. Here's a third masculine singular imperfect. And Israel. Now here's a phrase that you need to get used to seeing. We have yigle and then galo. Notice the same root. This first word, yigle, the second version is your 3ms, call imperfect. And this is a verb form that we don't see very often. This is the adverbial infinitive, or also known as the infinitive absolute. And when you have an imperfect form with its exact same root in the adverbial infinitive, this is emphatic. And Israel will surely go into exile from upon its land. All right, verse 12. Opens up with, again, one of the more common verbs in the entire Old Testament. This is a third masculine singular, vav, consecutive imperfect, or past narrative from Amar. And Amaziah said to Amos. This also what's the relationship here? This could also be translated, so Amaziah said to Amos, or then Amaziah said to Amos. If you want to pull out your Arnold Choi book, you can look at 3.5.1 for different ways of translating the past narrative. It's going to be past tense, but it can be so, then, and. So you've got some different options. Or so, and I'll say, so Amaziah said to Amos. Jose, this is a noun. It's a segalet noun. U-class, that is proper name for seer, or his title. Then lek, berak, leka. Here we have two imperatives in a row. lake, we talked about this in class. This is, you want to get used to seeing this. This is the verb halak, and the H is often not present in many of its forms. And so that's from halak, so that is walk or go. Barak, that's just a straight up call imperative, second masculine singular. Again, the guttural gives you an A-class vowel, but otherwise that's the paradigm form. Flee yourself, or that's to the land, construct chain of Judah, to the land of Judah. And here's another imperative, and eat their lachem, and eat their bread, and their prophesy. So you want to look at, and there you will prophesy. So we have an imperative. So we have 1, 2, 3 imperatives, and then the last word is a imperfect form. Now notice this last verbal form, tenave. You may be thinking, well, look, I see some extra letters in here. Yeah, this is a nifal, and I'll have this up on a chart, but notice that's a nifal form there. We have the doubled noon from the root. That's an indicative of, in this vowel pattern here, the doubled first radical of the root with a kametz under it is a clear indicator of a nifal. Okay, and he's continued to talk, and you will prophesy there. So he's telling Amos to go back to Judah. And Bethel, but Bethel, and perhaps here, this maybe includes the word. Some scholars think that there's a bait implied here, also the preposition. It just doesn't include it in the text. So this could be but in Bethel. Here's the verb that we saw previously. This is that word for again or add here. So here we have yasaf. You will not again, and this verb also takes the infinitive, the infinitive construct, and here we have it. You will not again prophesy. You will not again prophesy, for it, who? Mikdash Melech, the sanctuary of the king. It is the sanctuary of the king and the house of his kingdom, or house of the kingdom. So don't prophesy in Bethel. Notice whose place it belongs. It's the sanctuary of the king and the house of the kingdom. So it's not God's place. It's Jeroboam's. It's been taken over by politics, and so there's a strange mixture of politics and religion here. Okay, verse 14. Vayan. This is obviously a past narrative at the front end, and this is from a third hay verb. You'll get apocompation, which means you lose the last consonant. You won't see the hay oftentimes. And so this is from Anah, answered. So and or but, Amos answered. Vav consecutive imperfect, past narrative, Amar. And he said, so Amos answered and he said to Amaziah, and this is interesting now, bunch of I, Anoki, this is a verbless clause here, I am no prophet, and Anoki, I am not a son of a prophet. So he's saying I'm not a professional, which is really interesting. He doesn't take the title on. For I am a herdsman. This is a title for his thing. So he's differentiating himself from kind of owned, paid for religious leadership. He's not a professional prophet. He doesn't have the credentials. He's not a part of the establishment. All these eyes, he's talking about himself. I am a herdsman. And then one of my favorite things, literally like and a dresser of sycamores, or a pincher of figs. You can look up some commentary. This is kind of fun. This is Amos. Again, who is Amos? Amos is a guy that works outside with animals and agriculture. So he's a farmer. Okay, so how did Amos get into this deal? Well, there's Adonai, right? And now look at this first verb. Again, I'll break this down. You got to be able to see the Vav consecutive imperfect. This is a past narrative. You have at the end of this, the ni, that's a first common singular suffix, and then what's left of the verb. This is from lakak. In lakak, the lamed acts sort of like a noon, so the root is lamed Kaf Chet. And so this is took. But Yahweh took me, me achre, from after Hatzon, the flock. And he said to, and Yahweh said to me, again, same verb, we've seen this multiple times. Lek, or again, imperative, go. Henave, this is our imperative nifal of prophecy. And you notice the verb for prophecy often happens in the nifal. Go prophesy el ami, preposition, to my people. This is from Who is God's people? Israel. So now, va'ata, this is a kind of a strong introductory kind of thing. So now, hear, shema, imperative. And we have a guttural, so again, instead of having a holum like in the paradigm, we have an A-class vowel, but this is a call imperative. Hear, devra Adonai. Hear the word of Yahweh. Ata, now this, notice the difference. This is now, ata with an ayin. This is ata with an aleph. This is now, this is you. You are saying, don't prophesy against Israel, and don't drip or preach against the house of Isaac. Lakain. Therefore, very strong language here. Now here's, remember earlier it said, thus Amos has said. Now it's Ko Amar Adonai. Who's really speaking? It's Yahweh. This is powerful. You can go back. This is a great text to preach from. Therefore, thus the Lord has said. Ishteka, this is from Isha with a suffix, your wife, Tisne, will be a prostitute, ba'ir, in the city. This is preposition bait, definite article, noun, city. And your sons and your daughters, this is from nafal, this is the word verb for fall, so it's a first noon. Notice the noon assimilates here, third masculine plural. Your sons and your daughters will die or will fall by the sword. And your land will be divided into regions, or will be parceled out, you might say. And you will die upon a land, an unclean land. Wow, so he's going to get sent into exile. And notice here's just a call imperfect, second masculine singular from Mot. And Israel, here's that repeated thing, will surely go into exile from upon its land. And so Amaziah did get the prophecy right about the exile, but his mistake was thinking it was Amos's words and not Yahweh's. Again, I'll go back and I'm going to do a video and look at some of these key verbs so I can help you to work through that. But that's just reading through the text. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm Brian Russell, and it's my privilege to be your professor this term.